Republic unveils cannabis legalization plan without a legal market. I mean, I can't really be mad at them because that sounds like almost every cannabis legalization plan that we rolled out, i.e. 1996 Compassionate Use Act, i.e. Washington, D.C. today, and the list just keeps going on. But anyhow, the Czech Republic has disclosed a plan to legalize adult use cannabis, but it seems there is no room for the establishment of the illegal market. Czech's local news media outlets have reported that the bill aiming to legalize adult use cannabis in Central European countries won't include regulations for the legal market. The English language media outlet Expats reported that the Czech government on January 10th presented a draft of the cannabis regulation bill. However, the bill did not mention the initially envisioned framework for a regulated cannabis market. The Czech Republic is among several European countries actively working on cannabis regulation. While recreational use remains illegal, possession of personal use was decriminalized in 2010, and medical cannabis was legalized in 2013. So they've had 10 years, over a decade, of medical cannabis legalization. And now they're trying to move to adult use. But what they're saying in the Czech Republic is like, we can move to medical adult use, but if you have no way to get cannabis, these laws are like really hard to implement in real life, right? We've seen these issues play out here. It's like, it still becomes a quasi-illegal, legal, gray market, whatever you want to call it, to where people, like, they don't know if they're legal. Are you buying the street? It's like, it's crazy. Like, pass the law and then pass the law, the next part of the law. It's like a two-part process, right? It's like, okay, we decriminalize, we legalize, we get everybody out of prison. And then we say, okay, how do you obtain this cannabis? How do you obtain this medicine? How do we get it to the consumers in a legal, in a regulated, in a well-established, effective way, right? Okay. In late 2022, the Czech Republic announced its efforts to draft legalization of cannabis, which also envisioned the establishment of a market. It seems that legalization, possession, home cultivation, and the establishment of cannabis social clubs sound like early 2000s in NorCal, a little bit, right? Home cultivation, I'm with. I love home cultivation. It really irks me when I see bills that push home cultivation out or put some type of, real crazy restrictions on it, because home cultivation is how people fall in love with the plant, how they get other people excited by the plant, even if you're not even a good grower. Just start growing and start to see the process and the creation of life creation and those things. You become more entwined with the plant, more passionate about it, and then you want to share its benefits. So home cultivation, yes. It's called the Pirate Party, I guess, unless I'm pronouncing it wrong. The Pirate Party, the many reportedly stated that the text was a compromise, and they plan to negotiate a bill which has been in development by a working group since last November. Hopefully they get it in there. But beyond the question of whether this plan, which involves domestic policy dynamics, will be successful, the legal hurdles in the European Union for implementation of the Legal Adult Use Act in the EU's countries, legalization shouldn't be underestimated. The EU right now is a really, really interesting spot for cannabis, because you're having a lot of these countries start to come online right now. And let's put it like this, they don't have a lot of the social stigma and a lot of the political grandstanding that we have in the US in regard to cannabis use. Now it's there, trust me, they have crazy politicians like anyone else. But the EU is really starting to be an interesting, really interesting test case to see how cannabis laws roll out all over the. Germany initially planned to establish a legal market, but had to revise the proposal due to pushback by the European Commission. The legal framework on which the existing EU laws wouldn't allow an EU member state to establish legal adult use cannabis markets consistent with the Schengen Convention of 1995. I know I made that like perhaps Chinese, but it looks like it is closer to German, which obliges the EU countries to eliminate illicit drug trafficking, and the EU's. So basically what they're saying is like, you really can't legalize it. Talk about it. We can, until we kind of change some of these framework decisions that were established in this convention in 1985. And they can easily do that, but until that changes, we're going to have a hurdle that still needs to come through. So in fact, Malta and Luxembourg are the only two EU member states that have legalized adult use cannabis for personal use. Were able to do so because they haven't established an adult use legal market. So basically, they're saying you can do it, you just can't have a market. So I don't know, like. It's a catch-22. You create a system that you're forcing your citizens to break the law. You're forcing your citizens to go into situations where perhaps they don't have tested cannabis, perhaps they have where certain chemicals and stuff that maybe they have allergies or to. It's just it's crazy when you have these type of systems brought out, because it's like a half cocked okay. It's like, yeah, you can go into that cabinet, right? But there's nothing in there. So good luck being satisfied. Anyway, although there are specific international legal pathways to follow that could potentially allow the establishment of legal recreational markets in the EU, these must be evaluated scrupulously. Wow. Anyhow, so the EU's coming along, man. It's an interesting thing over there. I'm excited to when I can be able to travel there. I definitely check in with the probation officer to make sure she allows me to travel over there. But I'm interested in going over there and seeing just what it looks like on the ground in a lot of these countries. Hopefully they let me in. I do have a cannabis conviction, so we don't ever know about it. I'm going to kick it back to my correspondents. What do you guys think about this situation we got over with the Czech Republic and the EU?
Man, this sounds like it's going to be an interesting place to play around with some cannabis.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, this is going to be... will it start to compete with Barcelona is the question.
No. I don't think anybody...
I mean, look, I don't think many places are going to be able to compete with Barcelona because of Barcelona's history and cannabis culture. But I think the bigger challenge is these EU member nations are trying to come up with guidelines on a per country basis, probably because that's easier than getting the EU to agree on a singular standard. But I'm like, hey, Czech Republic, give me a call because I can help you with your guidelines. I consult. I will send you a Venmo link. We can take all of the aggregated information that we know over here with policy that does and doesn't work, well-intended, unintended, oops, I did it again, AKA Britney Spears, and I stepped in the same policy pothole. And so, for me, I'm just not sure whether not having guidelines is a good thing because it allows for some measure of latitude by operators, or whether not having guidelines over there is just a recipe for failure. I don't know whether it's playing chess or a mail order bride, but either way, I'm going to say checkmate.
Oh, boy.
There's so many ways you can take that, and I'm not going to touch any of them.
I'm not touching
because
10-foot pole.
I'm about peace today.
Yeah, it's MLK Day.
So there is one thing that I wanted to touch on, Rico, that I'm glad you brought that up, is in 2014, I was in solitary confinement, and MLK Day had just passed, and I was reading a book, and the book went into MLK's letters from Birmingham. And I don't know I do know. Of course, these letters hit different while you're sitting in solitary confinement, right? So I drafted a letter, I guess. I didn't think it was going to do anything. I just wrote the letter because I was feeling what you're talking about, sitting in solitary, operating a medical cannabis dispensary. So in 2014, after MLK Day, I write this letter. I send it out. High Times, Cannabis Now published it. High and it's called A Call for Unity from Federal Marijuana Prisoner Luis Garmazo. If you guys have a chance, check it out. It's on Cannabis Now. And I just want to read a small excerpt of it, just because this is like, this hits of what we're hearing. I say, some of the leaders of our cause have criticized us for opening a dispensary in the conservative and inhospitable area of Central California. They told us to wait and find a place where the local government was more liberal, accepting of medical. We considered their fears and advice, but what history has taught us is that there is rarely a perfect moment or perfect place when you are trying to correct an injustice. When you feel your cause is morally right before God, the perfect time is now, and the perfect place is here. So I just wanted to say thank you to Dr. King before I handed it back over to everybody for the inspiration and for continuing to just push the limit and make sure that everyone has their rights, everyone is created equally, and everyone has equal opportunity.
Thank you for that, Luke. That's fucking powerful. Appreciate you sharing that with us, man.
Yes, most definitely.
And hearing your words while you were behind bars, like, really inspired a lot of us out here to make sure that we were doing our job and making sure that we were giving y'all shout outs, and we were making sure that we were backing you and your movement from behind bars too. So
yeah, 100, man. Thank you. And I felt it. I felt the love from the community and the support. So I really do appreciate that, brother.
It's more powerful than you know, man.